Today is Tuesday, September 23rd, and you're listening to the Beer Temple Podcast.
Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again.
Hello, and welcome to the Beer Temple Podcast, your weekly podcast about beer and the Beer Temple.
Yes.
I am your co-host, Mike Shalal of His Was Brewing, and I'm here with the other co-host, Chris Quinn of the Beer Temple. Chris,
What up?
how you doing?
Good. Yeah, we took as big of a break as I think we've taken in years.
Yeah, there's one big thing that happened that I think led to a longer break, but other than that,
Yeah.
I think this was our personal COVID.
Right. Oh no, that was kind of like when we reset the whole thing. But yeah, since COVID. But the good news is we've got like several months of shows lined up now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and also to be honest, I think you and I personally just need a little refresh.
Yeah, for sure. There's only so many takes; they can only be so hot. You know,
Well, some people just
We're not
have a
Jake.
preternatural ability for
Yeah.
hot takes.
right? We're not Jake.
No, we have to, preheat ours. They
And-
just come out like molten lava.
And the older that you get, your body just can't keep up with the heat. So you gotta prepare your body for the takes. And I was just wearing down.
It's okay though, but we're back.
Better than ever.
We're back.
Yeah, we're back.
We're back.
We're back. Definitely back.
Yeah. So yeah, glad to be back. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to the show. It's just you and I. No Surge. No nothing. Just you and me. We're back in
Lean.
Beer Temple.
Bare bones.
Bare bones, and ready to go. Interesting format that we're going to do. It's going to be a new type of show that we haven't done really before.
Not on purpose, anyway.
We haven't. Yes.
Not
right.
inten-
Exactly.
Not intentionally. We may have accidentally stumbled into a show like this before. But.
Yeah. So we have an article written by our friend of the show, Andy Crouch from All About Beer, one of my favorite beer writers, and he wrote a really cool article, I think, and it involves tap rooms and beer bars and stuff that we've been talking about here for years, and how they affect one another.
You're saying you stole our ideas.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's what I was building to.
Oh,
that.
my bad. Sorry.
That was the whole arc of the entire,
We're out of
90-minute whatever show.
Oh, yeah.
Was going to culminate in that, but you kind of
I
yeah.
couldn't let this injustice stand for
Right.
90 minutes. I needed to call Mr. Crouch out.
Right.
You know where we are, Andy.
Right.
The beer bar.
So what we're going to do is we'll read the article, but afterwards we'll kind of do a little debate. But I will be debating in favor of the brewery tap rooms, and you will be debating in favor of the beer bars.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'll be interesting to see. Just the different things that each of us come up with. So we'll be doing that in a moment. But before that, we have been gone for a while. There are a few things that we should probably mention. I think first and foremost is that 21st Amendment closed out in San Francisco.
I guess hell came before I watermelon.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, pound it
Fist
out.
bump.
There we go. You didn't see that on the audio, but we just fist bumped.
My worst work.
So that's a pretty big one. I mean, none of these really surprise me.
Sure.
Anymore. It'd be hard. There are ones that I'd be surprised by, but there's
Yeah.
a lot that I'm not surprised
But
by.
they follow a similar arc of like a lot of growth expansion to other markets, retraction from those markets, if not explicit, just kind of implicit of who's buying 21st Amendment in Chicago anymore, and that was a big deal when they came here the first time, right?
Yeah.
And then what happens after that, So
Yeah,
they,
but man, the San Francisco beer scene is really just taking
San
a
Francisco
hit.
generally is getting beat up right now.
Yeah. Well, it's trickling down to
Right.
to the beer scene.
Yeah, trickling down.
With the so now it's 21st Amendment and Anchor, and let's not forget Toronado is on the brink or not doing so great. Man, rough.
Yeah, I mean, when's the last time? Are they even in this market anymore?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And, you can look at it from the perspective of, like, I never really was moved by any of their beers, but also it's not a good thing. Like, it's not like I'm not indifferent. I'm indifferent to the beers, but not indifferent to, like, the fact that type of brewery is not doing well.
Yeah.
And I think that's a sign, Big Beer won, that there aren't going to be national brands like that aren't owned by big.
Right, or there'll
brewery.
be, one or two. There'll be, like, for now anyway,
There's
Sierra
Sierra
Nevada.
Nevada.
I guess you can count Boston Beer, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah, I
Sure.
mean, they probably do much more Twisted Tea than anything else at
They
this
absolutely
point.
do. There was an earnings call recently. I'm no longer a shareholder of Boston Beer, but there's an earnings call recently where, like, they were talking. The shareholders were like, "You got to stop doing all this innovation, like testing. We're losing a bunch of money doing it." And he was just like, Jim Cook was like, "No, like that's what we do."
Right.
But it's like some of the ideas that they're like, I'm sure these were cherry picked for the article, but they were just like, "How did you think that was a good idea?" I can't think of any off the top of my head, but there was some what are you putting money behind?
But they are, the Twisted Tea people. They were doing Angry Orchard. They were like kind of
Still
early,
doing Angry Orchard.
and they're still doing Twisted Tea. But
Yeah.
but they're early adopters of a lot of these emerging things, and I think they probably a lot of that is probably the fact that they're doing a lot of R&D and are ready to roll. And
Right.
I guess they fail with a bunch, and some of them hit, and then you have Twisted Tea.
Right.
I knowing nothing of what it's like to run a beverage company that size, and I mean truly knowing nothing.
Yeah. No.
I would side with Mr. Cook on this one.
Don't we kick rocks? Have you ever had Twisted? I don't think I've ever had a Twisted.
Don't know. If so, maybe a sip, but I don't think so. The kids really enjoy it, and it's kind of in the. It seems like very much part of like there's a little bit of like a culture around it right now, like a party culture.
Getting Twisted. It's the new. Is it like the new? There's no laws and you're drinking claws.
Perhaps, yeah. I think people like it because it's uncarbonated. I think that's a big thing right now.
Yeah, I didn't realize a lot of that stuff was uncarbonated until like maybe a year ago.
Yeah,
that people liked that because I'd been selling our beer as highly carbonated.
Right. Maybe that explains some things.
Yeah. What
were your earnings call like? Why are you doing all this carbonation? We're losing money.
There's no such thing as an earnings call.
Yeah.
There's a that bad, huh? Call. Yeah, I mean, our crossover of Twisted Tea is probably like the Venn diagram's a circle,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever I see someone partying with like a 12-pack box of Twisted Tea over their head as like a superhero costume, in their other hand inevitably is a Wilby or a Levain.
Bourgeois Daydreams.
Yeah, one of the limited edition Levains, something like that.
That's right, yeah. Spent more on that one bottle than I did on the
exactly.
24 rack of uncarbonated tarred tea.
Yes. Seems big. It looks like Stateside is now in Chicago. That's a couple years ago. One of my predictions was that
Stateside, Surfside, Surfs.
They're both. They're Stateside and Surfside. I think it's the same company.
I got it.
Yeah, the kind of the white cans and they do teas and RTDs and stuff like that.
That was the one that you were having on the shore.
Yes, and it's from Philadelphia. Right. And I was like, I think we're going to start seeing these local beverage companies emerging. And what I didn't realize was like, no, it's just going to be that one that's going to come and take them all. So, but again, that's what people like. And I was having a conversation and this is for another episode, and we'll get into the main thrust of what we want to talk about shortly. But I was talking to somebody in the industry, which, again, we may bring up in a future episode in greater detail. Just kind of questioning or observing or commenting on how taste seems to be sold to like a lower common denominator than I think ever I can remember anyway, to a greater degree in the alcohol space and maybe overall too, I don't know. But there's so many, juice forces and things that taste like Hawaiian Punch and things like that. And I guess those might have always existed to a little degree, but nothing like it does now. And we were even talking about how we saw those little shot pouches with a cartoon character on them. And it was just like, total Joe Camel vibes, both graphically in that it was a cartoon character and also like, it was not for not even an unsophisticated palate, because that's not what I'm.
Unsophisticated person, is what you're saying.
But not even that.
No.
It's that they are unadult. Like I don't think Bud Light is a sophisticated palate, but it's for an adult palate. Is kind of what I mean. Where a child wants to drink Juice Force.
Right. And there used to be like an acceptance that alcohol was for adults and shouldn't taste like
and the flavors are things that you develop and that it's an adult flavor and stuff like that. And now I think, with like a lot of things, it's like, oh, I liked these toys as a child and now there are superhero now I just kind of gave away, but like that's for example, there are movies now that are explicitly not for children. I guess I learned that. I think I've talked about it. I went to a Spider-Man movie with my kids, knowing really nothing about modern superhero movies. I was like, oh, Superman, yeah, that'll be fun, and they liked it. But I realized, like halfway or a third of the way into the movie, I was like, "Oh, this movie is for adults." not that it was sexual or explicit, but it was just like this movie is for a childlike adult,
and not in the way that like a Pixar movie can be appreciated by adults,
no,
but is for children, and like this is for grown-ups or for people who are
because
older,
when the Pixar does that, that takes a ton of, not that both of them aren't hard to do, but anyway. And then the other thing, now you have superhero movies where they're just like straight up dropping F-bombs, this and that, but they're still like comic book heroes. They're not like the more, grittier ones or whatever. Sure. It's like, okay, this is Deadpool. And
yeah, but that's not for children. That was never for children.
Okay.
Was Deadpool the comic for children?
I don't know. Deadpool and Wolverine.
I think the comic for Deadpool is even worse.
Okay.
Less child-friendly.
Got it.
But I don't know. I'm not a comic guy.
Neither am I.
I think there's something...
anyway. We can talk about that. No, finish, but...
Just about, like, capitalism and marketing generally that we've dug in and appealed to just the basal thing all the time.
Yeah.
And that keeping you infantilized and, like... remember when you were a kid? Now you're an adult, but you can have the things you had as a kid, but there's booze in it. Is like that was not a way that things were sold until like the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And
I do think maybe, it might have some overlap with what we're talking about, where it's just like, is this just kind of a natural way that things are going in our society right now, at least in the U.S.? I don't know if this is like happening in Europe, but it's like, well, that's the opportunity. It's easy access, easy entry point. What are you expecting if it's going to happen?
Right.
And fighting it's inevitable.
And there's this feedback loop, right, of they gave us sweeter things because they tested well, right? And then the sweeter things tested better, and then we got used to sweeter things, and sweeter things kept like getting better and better like results in market testing, and the palate crept sweeter and sweeter to the point where like everything has like a crazy amount of sugar in it that's processed now, and so like we're just so bent as a society towards things being sweet
and not needing to push
and being
yourself.
Juice, yeah,
not needing to acquire anything. Like, why would you need to acquire a taste for a spirit, or when it can just be so laden with juice? And like, for example, a cocktail. Like, I like pina coladas. Like, I'll have a pina colada if I'm on a tropical beach. But are the locals drinking pina coladas every day there? No. They're not.
No.
They're not. And that's kind of what we've gotten to now, where we're drinking, we're being given the tropical special, drink all the time. Because why not? Why acquire this taste when you can have juice?
Right, and we don't have great self-control. We're like, that thing, that is going to taste better when you're on that vacation, but also you kind of want it all the time. Like people say stuff like, I could drink 1 million of these all the time, or I could drink 1 billion of these. It's not true. Like, you're just on vacation and you don't have any responsibilities, so you're feeling good. But now it's like, well, why can't you? If you want it, you should have it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. There's like very bad repercussions for that, very obviously, in our society.
Yeah. Well, all that is to say, 21st Amendment has closed down. So, yeah, but we've been gone a while. There's probably a lot of news that we've forgotten about, but we have a couple roundtables coming up, and we'll bring up some of that stuff as well. But let's get cracking on this stuff. Is that all right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. One thing I did not print off was the exact name of this article, and I think it's Why We Need a New Generation of Beer Bars is the name of the article. It's in All About Beer. I highly recommend anyone out there to check out that site generally.
Yeah, why craft beer needs a new generation of beer bars.
Like how
Tap rooms won the battle, but are they killing the culture is the sub-headline.
Yeah. So that's what it is. And let me just go ahead and read it. If you absolutely must say something, comment on it, go for it.
I'll try to not to.
But otherwise, you are. I think the two sides of the debate or conversation will be quite obvious. So here we go. Michael Roper knew this would happen. Hey, friend of the pod. In 2018, the Republicans saw his once packed beer bar, the Hop Leaf, on Chicago's North Side, start to lose customers. He knew why. Quote, "We started as what started as humble tasting rooms, places to have a sample in a plastic cup after a brewery tour or a growler fill station, has morphed into something much more sophisticated and tavern-like," he wrote at the time. With more than 80 Chicago breweries with tap rooms operating at the time, he saw direct competition. Quote, "It has had a tremendous impact on traditional corner pubs and specialty craft beer bars like mine, as it has siphoned off a lot of business. For us, it has brought a plunge in business, staff cuts, and caused us to reevaluate plans. It means we focus more on food, wine, and spirits. I go to neighborhood tap rooms. They're busy. That is a good thing, except that the audience for beer is finite. Every full seat there means there's an empty seat at a nearby bar." His predictions for the future were grimly prescient. Quote, "The overall volume of beer being consumed is flat or falling," he wrote. "With hundreds of new competing tap rooms entering a stagnant market, there will be closures. Some of the closures will be traditional pubs, and some will no doubt be tap rooms themselves. Until consumption rises, it will be brutally competitive for each customer's beer dollar." 7 years later, Chicago boasts more than 160 breweries. Almost all with tap rooms, and Roper's predictions have come true. Quote, the tap rooms have siphoned a lot of beer business away from multi-tap beer bars like ours. He recently wrote on Facebook, we sell nearly half as much beer as we sold a decade ago. If we were opening today, I'd probably have half the draft lines I have now. 62. That's insane by today's standards.
Even 32 is a lot.
Yeah. Very few new places are opening with our
31.
international and domestic craft beer focused offerings. Tap rooms own that audience. Tap list at the Beer Temple in Chicago, Illinois. Oh,
Hey.
sorry. That was the photo credit. I
Yeah,
took
you
out
left
the thing.
in the photo credits so you could just talk about how your bar is in the article.
Sorry. No, I didn't. That was an accident. Beer bars didn't just pour pints. They helped build a movement. They pioneered the promotion of small, unknown microbreweries, the first to take a chance on their often unsteady beers. They introduced drinkers to bold flavors before craft beer even had a name. These trailblazing beers are well known in older
Bars.
craft. Sorry. These trailblazing bars are one. It's important difference. Are well known in older craft beer circles, including Monk's Cafe, Toronado, Max's, Blue Tusk, DBA, Brickseller, O'Brien's, and the Brick Store, among many others. From the Great Lost Bear, which poured the first pint of Allagash White on July 1st, 1995, or the Horsebrass Pub, my personal favorite, in Portland, Oregon, which introduced several dozen small breweries to its thirsty patrons. These small, publican-led bars helped nurture the nascent craft brewery movement. At their best, beer bars provided a smart, curated, opinionated take on beer, serving the best beers available in a wide variety of styles. The art of beer curation, the superpower of beer bars, is now nearly lost to time. During their heyday, visiting a beer bar gave pub goers an unparalleled opportunity to sit in one place and experience the best beer had to offer. You could drink a wide swath of styles expertly curated by an experienced, informed palate, the original craft beer influencer who waded through countless beers on your behalf. Competition for these tap lines was fierce. Securing a coveted spot meant something. That experience is absent in the taproom era. While taprooms have liberalized the tasting experience, rare are the breweries that produce a wide range of styles, let alone world-class versions of each. Beer bars provided one place for exposure to such a wide variety. Today, you'd have to visit a dozen or more breweries to sample excellent versions of all these styles. The Lager Brewery, the Haze Factory, the Pastry Stout Spot. Beyond curation, a collection of the world's best beers, Beyond curating a collection of the world's best beers, the death of beer bars also portended other losses. With their decline has come a fixation on only a few styles, such as hazy IPAs and Pilsners. Taproom brewers grew content on the easy sales of hazy IPAs, regardless of their uniformity of character. With few curators left to seek out and promote other styles and breweries, variety has diminished. This has led to the slow death of Belgian-style ales and other styles.
That's terrible news.
Hell, even Allagash is releasing hazies and lagers. Beer bars didn't just serve, they educated and evangelized. Breweries large and small appreciated the important role these bars played in developing their customers. Rich Doyle, one of the founders of Harpoon in Boston, once told me that his brewery taproom sold beer above market price because he didn't want to compete with the bars in the neighborhood that supported his brewery. That ethos has long since evaporated. Beer bars introduced new and small breweries to their local markets, where their original customers and cheerleaders, yet ultimately ended up their victims. Let me read that sentence again because I think it's important, and I botched it. Beer bars introduced I'm messing it up again. Beer bars introduced new and small breweries to their local markets, were their original customers and cheerleaders, yet ultimately ended up their victims. Falling Rock. Oh, never mind. I almost read a photo credit again. With the rise of tap rooms, some beer bar owners lashed out, believing breweries were invading their sovereign territory. Chris Black, founder of the Falling Rock Tap Room in Denver's Lodo neighborhood, calls himself a 40-year veteran of the craft beer wars. In 2016, he wrote an open letter to the owner of Oscar Blues, decrying the brewery's plan.
2016.
I know.
It doesn't feel that long ago.
I know. I remember when this happened. Decrying the brewery's plan to build a large new bar in downtown Denver where it would serve not only its beers, but those from other breweries. Black loudly announced he would stop selling beers from Oscar Blues at Falling Rock. At that time, he took exception to Oscar Blues' plan to sell, quote, other people's beers, but said, I fully support a brewer's right to a tap room. I think it is a vital part of building your brewery and its brand. When you want to sell your own products, I'm a huge supporter. By 2018, just 2 years later, his vision had changed.
Viewpoint.
Yeah, his viewpoint changed. Sorry. Maybe you should read this. Black looked around and saw the number of visitors to his seminal craft beer bar, often called the unofficial headquarters of the annual Great American Beer Fest, beginning to drop. Breweries celebrated GABF medal wins at the beer bar, while beer nerds marveled at its one-of-a-kind beer lists. But Black watched it all slip away, not to wine bars or sports bars, but to the very breweries he once supported. Tap rooms didn't just compete, they redefined the game and left bars like his behind. Falling Rock closed. Oh, that's another photo. Sorry. They did close, though, in 2021. In a lengthy, sometimes rambling 4,000-word screed on Falling Rock's blog, Black decried Disneyland destination breweries with events every weekend, movie nights, weekly bans, quote-unquote, where Black once complained about breweries selling other people's beers. He now went on the offensive against breweries selling their own beer in multiple locations. He complained that breweries no longer provided him with special release kegs, instead opting to tap them in their own establishment, often during beer release parties. And while some lacked empathy for Black's complaint against the simplest form of capitalism, competition, he had a point. Brewery tap rooms had obviously impacted beer bars. Tap rooms completely upended the traditional business model for selling beer in this country, moving from competing for tap lines, cold box space, and shelf storage to controlling it all themselves. In response, Black and other beer bar owners issued a warning that these would-be tap rooms, open a satellite tap room and we'll stop carrying your beer. What Black and others failed to foresee, however, was the brewery's response. We don't need you anymore. After fighting against the dark sides of the three-tier system, small brewers relished the chance to directly serve their consumers, and to avoid sharing profits with middlemen. Even previously supportive publicans. Losing a handful of tap handles is nothing compared to the opportunity to directly sell to thousands of consumers. Once tap rooms hit, everything changed. Thousands and thousands of small breweries opened up with tap rooms as the center of their business models. They didn't care about Falling Rock. They may never have even been there. They wanted to make beer and sell it directly over their bars to people, not kowtow to the gatekeeping of Black and others. Tap rooms cannot shoulder all the blame here. As the times changed, beer bars failed to evolve. They either grew bloated with too many tap handles or maintained design schemes straight out of the 80s, loaded with oversized beer tin signs, bright neons, and walls decorated with old tap handles no longer in use. They looked, I will say, all those things, maybe not the tin tackers, I still kind of like, but I'm also old. They looked, maybe that's saying something.
Well, what about walls decorated with old tap handles no longer in use? Are you into that?
No, but sometimes it's cool.
Yeah.
So it's cool. I mean, we'll take a quick break here. Sheffield's has there used to be a different tap handle every year for the Anchor Christmas beer, and they had every year's tap handle lined up.
That's cool.
That was awesome.
Yeah. But that's like the one that's like, that's the cool one, and then it's just like...
Right, and then every other place does it, and you're like, oh... Yeah, I mean, some like badass Tim Tackers are great too, and then you go to places and they're like, oh, like you opened and said to every brewery, please give me a Tin Tacker.
Yeah, right.
Because it just fills wall space.
Right.
Yeah. it's like Omnipolio. Like when they do something,
just filling wall space.
it's cool, and then other people do it, and it's like maybe the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
But that it's just like, but there are exceptions. Okay,
It's the Grandin effect.
they looked like an aging beer geek's rec room or an old tchotchke-filled Applebee's in desperate need of a design refresh. They grew comfortable, complacent, and saw no need to change. And then their monopolies ended. Moreover, their deaths appear as a form of planned obsolescence, as beer bars were born of a need to provide a nurturing sanctuary for better beer. Once craft beer attained mainstream popularity, their purpose seemingly evaporated. The success of craft beer was the death knell for beer bars. Falling Rock, oh, never mind. I almost got it. Okay. Nostalgia can be a tempting but ultimately toxic impulse, especially when it invites lethargy. Craft beer has long been defined by hyper and continued evolution and change. It's a necessary constant. But in the change to tap rooms, something important was lost. Beer bars once served as focal meeting points for the craft beer community, while tap rooms are silos. The craft beer community has left the third spaces of beer bars for the bland and often interchangeable environs of most tap rooms. Tap rooms are now the place where you go to have a beer, and with dozens of tap rooms operating in most American cities, it's easy to fall into the rut of visiting the same brewery all the time, further limiting a drinker's exposure to other breweries and styles. The loss of these central meeting places is felt most strongly in Denver during GABF, where Black's Falling Rock stands vacant, having closed in June 2021. It's like the heart of GABF was torn out. Falling Rock's famous marquee sign now hangs in the rafters of the nearby Bierstadt Lagerhaus tap room. How's that, by the way? I mean, that deserves a pause. Its famous marquee sign is now in a tap room. Proper pour. Jesus, man, I did it again. I only didn't do it once. I've started to read.
That one though was pretty impressive that you didn't read it.
Yeah, I know.
I liked that.
Yeah. Beer bars have long played a vital role in the craft beer ecosystem, and we're in need of a new generation of owner-curators to help revitalize the beer industry. These saviors won't be found in gargantuan bars with hundreds of taps, but instead in smaller, thoughtful spaces such as the Beer Temple in Chicago.
I wonder why we're reading this.
Yeah, or Delaware Supply Company in Albany, New York. This gem, a simple space in an unassuming neighborhood, has a smartly curated tap list featuring world classics such as DuPont Bon Vin, alongside local favorites, including 3 Brewing Your. The beer moves quickly, remains fresh, and is expertly and lovingly served in proper glassware. Modern beer bars need a complete makeover. In an era where, quote, drink local has become a tired mantra, maybe focus on the opposite. If differentiation is key, only serving from out of the area certainly makes a statement. Why support local breweries if they're just going to steal your business? Craft beer talks a big game about innovation, but real disruption.
Doug's not here to defend himself.
But real disruption might mean going back to bars that cared, back to quality over quantity, back to curators, not just creators. Craft beer is stagnant, complacent, and in desperate need of change. On their deathbeds, we've never needed beer bars more. All right, so long article. Thanks, everyone, for hanging with me while I read through that. Hopefully it came across from me reading it. So there we have it. Very good article. Stuff that I think that we've read before. And I will say, before we get started, I'm not going to say anything that I don't actually believe.
I'll agree to that too.
Yeah. Okay. So, would you like to start, or should I start? You're the beer bar owner,
Yeah, that's
and
right.
I'm the tap room owner. Where should I start? Would you like me to start, or would you like to start?
You can start.
Okay. I hear.
And what are you arguing exactly?
I'm defending the tap room,
okay.
and you're defending
the
the
beer
beer bar, or maybe arguing for the beer bar. I think it sounds like you're maybe a little bit more on the offensive, and I'm more on the defensive, just the way the article was written. I don't know.
Sure.
But I think that in order for there to be small breweries, small independent breweries, we need to have tap rooms. And that with the 3-tier system, and even with self-distribution, tap rooms are this is my kind of overview. Financially necessary, and also a place that people want to visit. And that if beer bars can't compete with that, that yes, they do need to change if they can't compete with that. I can't serve beer anywhere else if I'm not in business, and my tap room is vital to me being in business for multiple reasons. One, it's a huge kind of marketing flagship, and two, it's an opportunity for me to serve my beer directly to my customers in the most controlled way I possibly can, and have the most control over the experience I want when people are having my beer. And I think that's right. Furthermore, I think that it's just the natural way of things. We've advocated to be allowed to do things in tap rooms and share beer in tap rooms, and it was good for us, and we've advocated for the expansion of these things because it will make us healthier. So I think that there are no beer bars without breweries, and this is what breweries need to do to become viable businesses. And if craft beer bars are not going to be a part of that, or can't compete with that, I'm sorry, that's not our fault as a tap room. And also, when they were around, they weren't exactly loyal to us either, because they were ripping through tap handles all the time. And I would get a tap handle, and then I'd lose it. And I know at my tap room, it'll always be there. So there wasn't exactly a ton of loyalty to my individual bar. There was just loyalty to, the overall beer.
Sure. And I'm sure from an individual perspective, those are really good arguments for your particular tap room. But if you look at it holistically and as the health of beer as a cultural entity, beer bars are necessary for the dissemination of new ideas, I guess, is kind of the way I think about it, where
Signal boosting.
Right, and like the introduction of new styles or different flavors to a more average consumer. I think that styles are intriguing to people when they have world-class versions of them. And it's very unlikely that any singular brewery makes a world-class version of more than one, maybe two things. So having a space in which we can line up all these world-class styles from different producers, maybe local, maybe not, and have people try a wide swath, an actual wide variety of flavors, and not like, well, this is a hazy IPA, and this is a West Coast IPA, and this one has Citra and Simcoe, and this one's Citra and Simcoe and Mosaic in it. But actually, like, this is a Belgian double, and this is an English mild, and this is a hazy IPA, and this is a Pilsner, and have them actually be world-class versions, not just the ones that the brewers in the back wanted to make because they got bored of making the other styles. I think we need those spaces, and we need those places, and we need passionate people who aren't brewers to be communicating that these are important things to like, to be interested in, to seek out, and that while it's human nature and consumer behavior and just the way people behave to have favorite things, to be someone who can appreciate a breadth of world-class products and flavors within a category of beer is an important thing to have available and accessible to people who are interested in beer.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying overall, but I think it's not realistic. I think fair really means is irrelevant, but I think it's unrealistic to think that my business is not going to do what's best for its bottom line. And I can't control the entire system. I can just control what is best for my business. And if people want to come to my tap room, that's I mean, I should allow them to. And if they want to use my tap room more as what a conventional bar used to be like, what am I supposed to do? Say no, go to the local beer bar. It's better for overall curation. That's just not realistic. What I'm going to do is make my space have more elements of a bar to it and more kind of creature comforts like that, and not just have it be a little place with plastic sample cups and growler fills.
And I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. I think you should do that. I think it's like an important thing to be doing. I think that, it might sound quaint and old, but more places serving better beer is good, right? And maybe not. Maybe there's a finite amount of beer consumers. But if you're so myopic to only think about what you do in your tap room, then you better be a very small brewery. Mm-hmm. Because like what happens in your tap room is going to be very different than what happens in distribution. Is going to be very different than what happens when if you want to expand or grow. So having outlets that you're friendly with and view as partners is important for any sort of idea of growth. And it doesn't have to be big growth, just growth outside of the siloed people that are already choosing to come and engage with your brand. Because if all you do is engage those people, then it's a much more dangerous game. And then you're unless you just want to be a neighborhood bar that happens to be a brewery, which I guess works, but that's not how most breweries function. Mm-hmm. And so if you want to have a footprint in distribution, even locally, you need to have good relationships with people who are able to expose you to new customers, and people that might say you make a specific style of beer that people haven't had before, and they want a place that might be able to introduce someone who they might think is into it that isn't going to go to your brewery because you only make that style of beer. These are important relationships to have, and just important overall, right? Like, it's important to have a culture around beer that is somewhat convivial, sharing, and open, and not just amongst breweries. This is different than, we're just corner bars. We're specifically focused bars. And if we are purely competition, it's not going to work for either of us as well as if we're working together. And so when you guys only tap things or only release things in your tap room and don't even make them available to anyone else, that makes it hard for us to feel like, we're part of that.
Right. And maybe the craft beer bar needs to get more creative than to think that my most valuable beer isn't going to be something that I'm going to want to have the most control over and be able to market in directly, and that wouldn't necessarily be the best thing for my company, not even for the immediate bottom line for whatever, if I do a release day for a special beer, but also for kind of the experience that kind of is ingrained into the customer when they're there, and then kind of goes out with them into the marketplace, and they remember the good time they had, and then maybe when they're somewhere else, they will buy my not super special beer. They will just think of my brewery fondly, and I think it's unrealistic for a beer bar to... So if a beer bar had a line around the corner for a beer release, the fact that I could do that directly and not have that go through a distributor and then to a retailer, and I could sell that directly to the consumer, is, I think, unrealistic. And I don't want to be like, let's just be honest with it. I mean, there is more profit there, and that profit is, helps keep the lights on for other things. So if I do a big festival event with my big release, or just for whatever I want to do, let's say I want to do an Oktoberfest. People have a good time. People think of my brewery fondly, and it allows me to just, and it's highly profitable. And for me to think that I'm going to not do that for a, downstream broad advantage is not realistic. And
what does that mean, downstream broad advantage? Like you're future potential with
like
a specific
the overall
account?
good of the beer industry, which I will, which when that tide rises will lift me as well, because it's just so many. Because all it takes then is for, so it would need to be a collective action of all breweries to do it, and it's not realistic because some breweries going to say, well, I don't want to do that. I want to do it all for myself, and then, like, I just don't know if, I guess maybe if one brewery did it, but it's going to be a tipping point because everyone's going to see how lucrative it is.
Right.
So they're going to do it. Now, that's why everyone is doing it.
Right. There's so many of you that trends come and go, right? The tap room is still yet to be seen if it's actually a sustainable business model or if it's just a trend the way that, brew pubs were a trend in the 90s. And so if all you want to do is maximize your current profit and revenue and think you're going to sustain on a strictly taproom model forever, that's a little bit, given all the things you're allowed to do that you fought for and earned, legally, it's a little short-sighted, I feel like, to only think of that as the way that you're going to run and operate your business and generate revenue.
Sure.
And that you're going to be able to do that forever.
Right.
So, there are, fast nickels and then there's slow dimes or pennies.
Yeah.
But trying to balance and do both, and maybe there's more symbiotic things that can be done. Like I remember seeing, my colleague and fellow beer bar owner, Michael Roper, tapping a gravity keg at Dovetail. So there's certain, breweries that really align with the ethos or, have your personal relationships with us that we have with the specific breweries. And there haven't been a lot of beer bars going to the tap room to do things. But maybe making that a more symbiotic thing and having the brand of this, beer bar, especially iconic ones like hop leaf or yourself, or and
Yourself.
yeah,
Joking.
right.
Myself. Yeah.
Bringing that to a tap room with which they are really aligned, in which they have a lot of like values together, or pour a bunch of beers, can open both ways, open up consumers on both sides to, maybe there's people that go to Dovetail that don't go to Hop Leaf, and that opens up that door. There's also a bar in Detroit called Meantime, which is kind of, I think, one of these new generation, like relatively smaller list, kind of a slashy, well curated, but they also make their own Czech lager. They have someone, Florian,
like a house
Florian,
brand.
yeah. That they've partnered with a brewery, and Hop Leaf does the same thing to make house brands, which is like great for both parties there. And so finding ways to work together instead of just being like, you're my adversary and you must be vanquished, I think will serve us both, and not just and then as part of that, like, we're going to sell, 4 kegs a week of beer we're buying from you. Throw us a keg every once, throw us a little $6 or something every once in a while.
Sure.
You wouldn't normally let out, just so we can put it on and like share that with our customers that aren't necessarily going to go to your tap.
Of course, I mean, that's the cost of doing business. I mean, if that's what it takes to keep a good relationship with an account that is still valuable, then that makes sense. If a tap room is asking, if a bar is asking just for my most expensive, hard to get stuff, I'm not going to do it. Never really would.
Is that what you think we're doing?
No, but I think that some bars in the heyday that they're talking about, or maybe post heyday, in that area where beer bars were getting, bloated and sitting on their laurels or whatever it was.
Yeah.
They were just saying like, people just want the rare stuff. I just want your rare stuff. I don't want Allagash White. I only want Cool Ship or something like that.
Right.
And
yeah, they're trading on the cachet of their name and kind of being bullies, right? And that didn't work for us. And so look at that and what happened to those type people that operated in that way, and think about how you're operating your tap room.
Sure.
Like you're doing a similar thing, where you're feel like you're entitled, and you made it, so maybe there's a little bit more entitlement there, but entitled to all of the cachet and profit from something that is deemed more valuable by people who want to come and drink it.
Sure.
So if that's what you want to do, is all you and you want to like hoard all of those things and not give them to any of your local beer bars, like even the ones that you have good relationships with, that might not work out in the long run, So
sure.
I would caution against, just look at what happened to to beer bars that behave that way and say, we only want the rare stuff from you. We're not going to serve your core brands, and the shoe's on the other foot now. So I think finding a balance and using the outlets that we have in a more mature and mutually beneficial way is going to help you guys in the long run. Because it is super possible, Gen Z is not drinking as much. Craft beer isn't that cool, like, for them. So, like, do you think it's going to be the bar that also has wine and food and cocktails that's going to be hurt more by them drinking less beer, that even if it's a craft beer focused bar, or is it going to be the tap room that only serves one brand of beer? So there's going to be a time where this article will be written in reverse, that we need great tap rooms again or something. Who knows how long that's going to be, but just don't think that it's going to be like this forever.
I do tend to agree that I think it's going to be an ebb and a flow, and that it's kind of natural.
Yeah.
And that when there is a insane demand for certain things, we are going to pull it in-house as much as possible. And then when that demand kind of loosens up, we will let it go. And if the and it sounds brutal, but like, if the demand is insane, I don't think there's.
But don't just give us scraps, Like, if you have people that are like-mindedly have committed their life to great tasting beer, I'm not saying you should like make your most exclusive beer available to every corner bar, but there are certainly places that it would be beneficial to, not make the immediate bang for whatever your buck is, or, let a little bit of it out to a place that you appreciate that is similarly minded and dedicated to beer. There's not a billion of these places, right?
No.
We're not asking for you to send hundreds of barrels of your most exclusive beer out. It's a
No,
sixtel
but
here, a
also-
sixtel there, a
some
little
of
bit, a little bit of cachet, a little bit of help when when the pendulum swung the other way. Will be remembered by beer bars and the buyers there and the people that have dedicated their life almost in a more intense way. The people that have like started breweries, right? There's a lot of control over starting your brewery. Where like I get to make this exclusive thing. I get to like kind of more define our messaging, and like a beer bar is kind of not at the complete whim, but like stuck with what is available to them in distribution in their local area, right? They can't just be like, I think I want to make a whatever XYZ thing and then go in the back and make it.
Right.
So there's like an even more extreme level of like dedication to the idea of beer as a cultural of cultural importance. And that should be respected and curated
I
and
agree.
helped along with.
No, I agree, but I think at the same time, if there is a beer that I want to make it special, and make it so you have to come to me in order to have this experience, and it's only available for me, maybe on very rare occasions it's available somewhere else. That's something that I should do. I think that
You should be able to do it. I don't know if you should do it.
Yeah.
I defend your right to do it. I don't think it's the best business decision.
I don't know. I mean, let me put out there something like Dark Lord or Perennial Abraxas or or Hunapoo Day or many of those other things that just those beers.
Hunapoo Day's fallen off. Dark
Sure.
Lord, maybe Dark Lord still exists. They've sent Abraxas to the bar we're sitting in.
Right. On draft, but not in package. But
Sure.
yes.
So those things are happening.
They are
And
happening
should
because
be
they need
happening.
to be. Because
You
they
think
need
they
to be.
need to be?
They need to be.
You think they wouldn't do it if they could sell it all themselves? They
Yes.
wouldn't let any of it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. And I think it's just the natural way it's going. I mean, I think that as my production is and my demand is my local customer base can't meet it, then I will let it go out to a larger customer base. And hopefully those people will enjoy it and it can stand on its merit. And then if not, then
Well, we'll see
then I have some other problem.
We'll see how good those things actually are, right? There's
Right,
plenty of
that's
things
true.
that exist on their hype, and then if you send them out as scraps, that doesn't taste as good, not necessarily the liquid itself, but doesn't taste as good to get scraps. And like, well, we couldn't sell it, so here, you can have it.
Right.
So
But what if
why would I want that? Why would
what
I want
if it's
that?
always looked as if you can get it, I don't want it. So like maybe it
that's
wasn't
not a business
scraps.
model. Then that's not a business model. I know I know of tap rooms that hold things back exclusively for their tap room and artificially hold things back just
Right.
to make it look as if they're not available anymore. And I don't think that is a really sustainable model in the culture we're living in now.
Now it's not. So
Right.
then we'll change what we do, and we'll probably be okay as a result.
And maybe we won't take it.
Right. That's true.
You know? And maybe when you think you're about to turn the other switch on, why would we want that?
Right.
You know, why would the people that why would we want it? You haven't given us anything else. You haven't given us that stuff. And then why would we carry your core brands if you don't send us any of that stuff?
Sure.
You know, what's the point?
Right.
If people don't drink your core brands and all you are is like a hype factory for your super rare stuff, or you don't even make a core brand regularly that can make it easy
Well, what
for
if
us
my
to.
core brand is for a certain type of bar, and it doesn't need to be a beer bar? It's just for bars. And then for the other people who come, they can get special stuff when they come to me. And then if, my core brands are just meant to be out in the marketplace. And those drinkers don't need to go to a beer bar. They can just go to a bar.
There's 160 of you in Chicago to varying degrees of popularity and rarity and sought-afterness. But you know what? You're all making widgets,
Right.
Ultimately, like there's very few of you that are making an irreplaceable product. So if there are breweries that want to work with us and want to create a relationship with us and have a mutually beneficial relationship, we're going to start going to those places, even if it's not the most elite level thing, right? If it's as good, but maybe doesn't have the hype behind it, I would rather work with this brand that comes in and brings me samples and talks to me and has a relationship with me, than the one that's like, okay, you can finally have it. Like I don't know if I'm going to want that when that time comes.
Let's use some of the examples in this article. So there was Oscar Blues was having concerts and events and stuff like that and programming, and Bierstadt now holds the banner,
Literally.
of Falling Rock. Both of those are tap rooms. Both of those are programmed very heavily. Both of them, as far as I know, those locations anyway, are still in business. I would presume are doing pretty well. It seems like there was a time where that was the 100% customers would rather be there.
Sure.
So what is a brewery to do? Not do that because we know better?
That may be something that we whiffed on. And ironically, harder than the places making the beer is that a lot of the customer experience isn't simply about the beer. And we probably should have seen that coming more than the tap rooms did. But we also don't have a lot of the benefits of like being able to throw something up in an industrial park and still attract people. So a lot of the things that you're able to do in a tap room, like maybe put a live show in the corner or have human-sized beer pong. Like,
yeah. I love that, by the way. I love when I walk into a place and it has that.
Yeah.
Doesn't horrify me at all.
Yeah, no.
Were you with me when that happened?
No, but
Okay.
I went there with my parents, and it was also like it did. With taking off my debate hat, it made me sad.
Yeah, I went to Bierstadt. I must have been with Max then when I was in Denver for.
I think I met you somewhere after you were there.
Yes.
Yeah, because you had
Yes.
you had done some Denver.
Yes. Some Denver.
plants.
Yes.
You had a Denver
I walked
salad.
in there and I was like Arbogast in Psycho when he sees the mother, and I just kind of recoiled backwards and was like,
Yeah, that one
like,
is.
walked away from that and was like, this is Bierstadt, because I had heard you got to go to Bierstadt, and I walked in, didn't have a single beer, like, this is where the slow pour pills is, and I was like, I don't care.
Yeah,
They're playing giant flippy cup or something.
Yeah.
And I was no, it was beer pong. Yeah, it was beer pong.
It's beer pong, and then I think they also since then had installed more than human-sized like cornhole.
Cool.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, and this is where one of my again with the debate hat off, but my oldest makes me feel old to take is like, I don't want to do that, and I don't want that to be where supposedly the best lager in the country is being poured.
Sure.
Know? There's such a cognitive dissonance for me behind like, it's got to be in this glass with this doily from this pouring mechanism poured in this way.
And it takes 5 minutes.
Go ahead over there and then play human-sized beer pong. It's like it just doesn't make sense to me in a way that makes the beer taste worse.
Yeah.
But
to your point about the, there are some things that are just possible in a big warehouse.
Yeah.
Is we're taking advantage of the spaces that we have. We are organized and we can lobby for those things. if you want to lobby to allow for certain things, then become collective and start fighting for it, and you can. I mean, that's how we did it. What are we supposed to not have done that? We have a guild, and we have a lobbying arm, and we're lobbying for what's good for us.
I understand
or
that,
our members.
and I get it, and I agree with that. It's just not the nature of how our business communes, So we have effectively stopped your advancement, though. Not necessarily us, but the distributors have certainly stopped the advancement of what you were able to do. And in some ways, for us, probably for the better. Definitely for the better of the distributors.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
we can both agree on that.
Right, and again, I don't think you shouldn't have the right to have a tap room. I just think the way that a lot of them are operating is myopic and siloed in a way that won't allow for growth, because businesses do have to grow, and won't allow for convivial feeling amongst people that should be your partners in that growth. So, of course, you don't have to do any of these things. You're doing fine. But, like I said before, the shoe might be on the other foot. People might not be coming to your tap room, and then you might have to sell the beer into the distribution, and we might not want it, because there might be people that actually were, engaged with us and viewed us as partners and understood the value of having these outlets that aren't so hyper curated of just one brand, and the ability to expose people to other beer styles or other types of environments to consume these things.
I will say that I don't think this could have happened any other way. I think just this is the natural way that things realistically must have happened.
Yeah.
If things are growing this way, and there is the opportunity for this to have to go into a tap room, and that we can capture that part of the market in our local market, then it's impossible to think that we won't. And that
to have the beer culture. Sorry.
And then as beer bars make a economic case for us to carry our beer with them, we will. And that is just how it has to happen. And that if beer bars have to do it without our most valuable stuff, or with us having programming, or with us having competing tap rooms, then that's just what they have to do, or find ways around it. And I'll sell my beer to beer bars out of state, and the local beer bars by me will bring stuff in from out of state, and that's just how it will be. But I don't see...
That's not a healthy beer culture.
But I don't know how it could be any other way. Like, what is the brewery supposed to do? They're only supposed to do what makes sense for them. And if for certain breweries...
It could be millions of other ways.
But if certain breweries want to grow through a certain network of bars, they will. And I think all the local breweries do to some degree. I mean, there's some who are just essentially brew pubs, but they probably, if there are a brewery, they want to have some distribution. And if that requires them to foster a relationship because they're not able to sell any, that will naturally cause them to do what they have to do.
Sure.
But if it requires them to... If a brewery needs a tap room to survive, they need a tap room to survive. And once they have that tap room and they are allowed to maximize it, for someone to willingly not maximize it, and maximize it is also like maximize their business. How about this?
Yeah.
I have to maximize my business. And that means letting out only as much as I have to while retaining as much as I possibly can. And I just think that's natural.
But what is the timeline of maximization there? Is it always immediately, or is it I want to be a business for the next 50 years?
Right.
30 years.
Sure.
100 years.
Right.
And those things are different. If it's just what I need to do this month to maximize this month, then that's one way of going about it. If it's what I need to do to be in business even 10 years from now, that might and probably is a different way of maximizing your business.
Yeah. And that's a question for every beer bar and for every brewery to answer. And some breweries might have a different long game, and another brewery might say, you know what? I'm confident I can figure it out when the time comes, but for right now, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do what I think the customers that are in front of me want, and I just have to have faith that I understand what needs to occur afterwards, and hopefully I can understand the market enough that if I need to kind of sell it, I can kind of see the writing on the wall and start making that happen. And if not, then I guess I go out of business.
Yeah. I mean, don't be too siloed. Don't be too myopic. Think about the long-term health of your business and what that looks like and where you're going versus how you got there.
Yeah. All right. We done? I think we're done.
I think we did it.
I think we did it. Well done. For a while, you were making it hard for me to come up with arguments, so I think...
I was making it hard for you to come up with arguments?
Yeah, you were coming up with some good ones.
Nice. I thought you were doing the same thing.
Yeah. I will say the one thing that I notice that I think we as a tap room are going to start paying more attention to is pricing, which we hadn't before.
Sure.
Because that is something that has gone by the wayside that we didn't bring up in the that was in the article that we didn't bring up. That did not used to happen before is breweries making sure that local bars can serve their beer at whatever, at a competitive price.
Yeah.
And we've noticed it, I think, recently with there was a half-acre beer. I think it was Smoking Gull that we almost thought there was an error.
Because it was so expensive.
So much more expensive than it was at the tap room. And we were like, what the fuck? And if that's going to continue happening, it will definitely have an effect on our relationship with draft half-acre.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, we're probably going to have to raise our prices looking at like the economics of a lot of it has to do with Chicago raising the tip minimum wage, to be honest, but also like with consideration for that, because our draft beer is pretty aggressively priced in our tap room, but our bottles are by far the most expensive place to get them is at our tap room. So I don't think people also we're so small, and the people that carry our beer are so specific, and we're not making Smoking Gull, right? That it's not quite the same issue for us, but that is something I've thought about a lot. And
something we're going to be focusing on more and having conversations with the brewery to the point of what we were saying in the I think it was unspoken, but I think what we both agreed with was like there just needs to be some communication with the breweries about this. And if you are able to, I guess you have to. They have to be somewhat in your local market, or if it's irrelevant, it doesn't matter if
but
Firestone Walker is selling Pivo cheaper than we can get it here in Chicago. That's irrelevant. But it's Half Acre or you or Rev, then it becomes relevant, and that's when you hope that you have a relationship enough where you can be like, hey, that's not cool, and we're not going to serve this. And if we think that's not going to do anything, then maybe we won't serve something else either.
Gotcha.
If we feel like if it's worth it. I mean,
totally.
That's definitely, there's an art and a science to it, but it is something where we were like, that's not cool, and it makes us look bad. It makes us look like we are gouging.
Right. And how can you possibly serve that then?
Right.
I don't know what we can talk off air what the numbers actually were, because I'm sure there's myself as a consumer of beverages out in the world is very is not very price conscious to a certain extent until I'm very price conscious. So I'm like, if I'm here and I see something I want, I'm just gonna get it because nothing's crazy. But like, if if we're at Delilah, then I might not get the
Right.
vintage. But like, I wonder if that's, and I assume a lot of people that drink these types of beers are like that, where they're not looking at the board and being like, well, that's $9 for 8 ounces and that's $10. So like, I don't know how much but I think it's getting more and more.
It's getting
like
a little
that.
more like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the prices are going up. And as the prices go
Right.
up, they look at it more. And as soon as they realize that a beer is, to them, surprisingly expensive, then they start scanning the prices.
What do you think the number, what do you think that number is for the average consumer? At
I
the beer
think
temple?
I think it's
like
$10.
$10 no matter what the size
Oh,
of it
for like
is,
a pint.
or it's like $10 a pint.
Certainly, if you go over, if you're into 11,
Yeah,
then you're like, whoa. I think 10 is really, and then 11 is like, I'm, if I don't know this beer,
for a pint. Yeah,
then
but
like no.
what about for smaller format like draft things? Like someone's looking for like an 8 ounce like pour of something. Like is that like $1 an ounce is what people like are when they start getting weird about it, or
I think we're past $1 an ounce at this point.
where people are okay with it?
Yeah, for the specialty stuff.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
that used to be a big deal, $1 an ounce.
Yeah.
But now we're at, I'd say, on some of the crazy stuff, almost like
$1.50.
$1.50 an ounce
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
I
yeah.
do find myself maybe looking at that a little bit more.
Right.
Because everyone has their things, like, and we've accidentally kind of noticed, even the people that come to our tap room, some percentage of them are alcohol per dollars. Like, not everyone that comes to our tap room is there because they're a Saison nerd. And so we have a beer on from our friend Rob at Supermoon, who's been brewing out of our space for a little bit.
Oh, guest
And-
taps, eh?
Yeah, we've had guest taps since the beginning, you know that. And it's 9% alcohol. And it's the only thing we've ever had on other than like a random other guest tap that is hilarious, which did not sell very well. But, and we've seen there's specific people one guy came in, I remember looking at our numbers and ordered 2 of those on draft and a bottle of it to go. And that was the first person on like a Sunday. And I'm like, dang, that guy is trying to get fucked up.
Yeah.
But it's, it's 9% alcohol. It's 2 to 3%, maybe 4% stronger than anything. It's 3.5 minimum percent stronger than anything that we're making.
Right.
With any was beer we have up there.
Right. I mean, I've been in that mindset. It's like, where am I, and how much am I going to be drinking, and if like when I was at SeaWorld and my wife and my brother both got like Cutwaters, and like one they were line priced. One was like 6% and the other was like 13% or something like that in a can.
Right.
Like if I was
If I'm
in
going
a
to watch
certain
Shamu Splash, then I'm trying to get the buzz on. But like if I'm
right,
at a
it's like,
craft beer
well,
bar,
am I going to get 2 for that price, or am I just going to drink 1 and kind of be okay with it? If I could, like, how many beers am I coming here? I don't know, I'll have 2 or 3 beers. Well, shoot, man. Like, if I'm at, like, the United Center and the beers are, like, $15 or something like that,
right.
and they're all $15, then I am going to get the more expensive one.
Totally.
Now, there's people who are probably like that all the time because they're always just thinking that way.
Right. It's the weird Venn diagram of those people that come to, like, the weird Saison tap room and also,
Right.
like, I'm trying to get crunk,
Right,
It's
right,
like,
right.
It's like, all right. That was a joke we used to make when we first opened, when we were like kind of training people, where it's like, you're probably not going to have to deal with a lot of belligerent drunk people unless they came from somewhere else, because it's really expensive to get really drunk here.
Right.
So like, but you put a 9%er on, and then people have 4 of them, and all the time.
Right.
So,
But it is interesting because I think I would at like a concert where they're like just where I'm already, but it's when the prices have reached that tipping point where it's like I'm annoyed.
right.
Then I'm like, well, I'll just get the expensive one and I'll drink it, I'll sip it, instead of like having a bunch of like Bud Lights for $13.50.
Right, and then
I'll
you're-
have a Two Hearted That's 7 or 7.5%.
Right, but then there's also the math of like I don't want to have to keep coming back to this thing. Like I just want to get 2 things and hold them and drink them warm for the next 3 hours of this concert or whatever.
That might be an extreme. I might go in the middle. Like, would I get a Bourbon County Stout there? Probably not. Although if it was the same price,
a stovepipe.
And what if it was the same price as a?
Let's get Mike Siegel on the show.
What if a Bourbon County Stout, a Bud Light, and a Two Hearted were
Okay.
all the same price and the same quantity at a Chicago Bulls game? So they're all $15.
Can we take the bourbon? I would not get the Bourbon County Stout. I don't want that.
What about a concert then? You're going to be there for a while.
I'm still going Too Hard, but that's just because I never want to drink a bourbon barrel aged stout ever again in my life.
Okay.
What if it for you, same price, and it's the first 2 are 19.2, so Bud Light and Two Hearted, and there's a 24-ounce can of Voodoo Ranger Juice Force Alpha.
I mean, is that even a question? I mean,
You're double fisting Juice Force Alpha.
Juice Force.
I don't even know if Juice Force Alpha is a thing. I just
right.
It sounds like it will or should be.
Right. Well, there you go. I mean, I'm not going to do that, and I'm not going to be drinking.
It's 10% though. What if it's Neon Bear Hug? It's local.
I mean, here's the thing. It's like, what if it was like a Cutwater 12% Mai Tai or something like that
I do love them
versus
Mai Tai,
a 12
What about Twisted?
a can of Twisted Tea
Hell yeah,
or a
brother.
can of, Mick Ultra or something like that. Like,
Definitely not going to make ultra.
like, right. Like, and you're at
Give me them
SeaWorld.
Give me them calories and carbs, boy.
I mean,
If I'm
I
at
guess at some point,
SeaWorld.
like, I am going to be drinking for the alcohol then, because it's like, well, I'm going to go broke if I'm drinking Bud Lights here.
Yeah.
So
At SeaWorld, you got to go like tiki tropical Mai Tai vibe, right? Though, like you're gonna.
I drank. Well, they also
in a
don't
fake
forget
beach
they
environment.
had Pizza Port. That's what I went for.
Oh yeah, Swami's.
It wasn't Swami. It was just a pale ale of theirs. It was good.
Yeah, you probably had a dozen of those.
I just had one.
Took a dozen of those. Took your shirt off and tried to fight Shamu.
Yeah, and then Margaret domed the 12% Mai Tai or whatever it was she got, and yeah.
Nice.
Well, I think that's about it. Do we have a roundtable coming up next week?
A roundtable next week. That's right.
You know what we need to get for some of these roundtables? We need to start
One
getting
more person because someone filled out the chart and then scheduled a bunch of vacations when they put them on. We put them on the schedule.
Okay. We need to get one more person. That's fine. We also need to get some letters.
Letters.
In here.
Ooh, yes. We need letters. Send them to the Beer Temple
Insiders
at
craftbeertemple.com.
and-
Or you can send us an actual letter to the Beer Temple proper, which is 3173 North Elston Avenue in Chicago, Illinois, 60618.
Also,
Yes.
while we were trying to schedule shows, we talked about wanting to do some sort of like Dungeons
Yes.
and Dragons quest, but with Beer Temple podcast lore as part of the story. And we
don't know how to
I've
do
never played Dungeons and Dragons.
Me either.
There's a group of people that come every Wednesday to our tap room and it looks like they're having a great time. But if you listen to this show and you are a dungeon master and would like to work with us on creating some sort of quest that has our lore blended into it, we want to do a show like quarterly with the same group of people as we move through our quest. Hit us up, send us an email or a letter at those aforementioned locations. And we'd love to figure out either some beer or some way to compensate you for your time.
Yeah, you'd be compensated for that, for sure.
But we want to do some sort of Dungeons and Dragons quest, and we don't know how to do it.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't even know
So
what it
please
would
help
look like.
us.
Yes.
You get a free Patreon subscription for sure.
Yes.
Well, you definitely get
100%.
that. And then some other stuff.
And some other stuff. All the lost episodes we've been doing the last couple of weeks.
That's
You'll get
right.
to hear all of them.
Yeah, that's just me and Chris coming over to your house and yelling at each other for 45 minutes.
Exactly.
while we drink six Cutwaters.
Exactly. Or we just rip Cutwaters.
The Cutwater Temple podcast.
Yeah, it's so easy to shotgun them because they're not they're not carbonated.
I think that makes it harder to shotgun things.
If it's not carbonated.
I think so.
Yeah, I could see that maybe. It doesn't like explode.
Our taproom manager once shotgunned a can of water and said it was the hardest thing he's ever shotgunned.
Really?
Yeah, uncarbonated water. We told him not to do it, and then he said he was gonna do it. He played hockey, so yeah.
Shotgunning water. I mean, there's really no reason not to do it.
That's right. Ultimate hydration, extreme hydration.
Exactly. Remember, kids, hydrate to the extreme. Well, that's it. But we would really love to hear from you guys about anything. We do love hearing from y'all. So shoot us an electronic mail or an actual letter. Haven't gotten an actual letter in quite some time.
Yeah, I haven't done a show in a while, so it's not their fault.
But it's good to be back. Thanks, everyone, as always, for listening. And we will be back next week.
Remember, this is what we want.